A luxurious Australian wedding venue on Sydney Harbour glows in the sunset light. Hours later, flashing emergency lights reflect off the water as police tape cordons off the bridal suite. 2 body bags are wheeled out on stretchers while shocked guests and family members watch in horror. 3 months earlier, Anya arrives in Australia from Delhi. At 22, she's strikingly beautiful with an elite education and the perfect blend of traditional values and modern ambition. Her engagement to Ryan Mitchell represents everything her parents dreamed of: international connections, wealth, and status within both communities. The engagement dinner at the Mitchell estate showcases their sprawling Harbourview property. Ryan, at 28, has already made his mark in Australia's tech industry, building on his family's property development fortune. He's handsome, successful, and clearly smitten with his young bride-to-be. Victor Mitchell dominates the room at 57. Tall, distinguished with silver hair and the confidence of someone who spent decades building an empire. His way of commanding attention makes Anya nervous. When he offers a toast, everyone falls silent immediately. To new beginnings and fresh blood in the family, he says, his eyes lingering on Anya a moment too long. Wedding preparations transform Anya's life into a whirlwind of cultural negotiations. Traditional Indian ceremonies alongside modern Australian celebrations. Red wedding lehenga for the morning, white designer gown for the evening reception. The Mitchell family spares no expense, turning their estate into a showcase of international luxury. Anya's carefully curated Instagram documents each moment, shopping for jewelry in Sydney's exclusive boutiques, cake tastings at award-winning patisseries, her growing relationship with her future in-laws. Each post garners thousands of likes from friends in Delhi. Her caption, "Two cultures, one love," becomes their unofficial wedding motto. Ryan's work frequently takes him interstate. During these absences, Victor steps in to handle wedding details, explaining Australian customs and helping Anya navigate her new world. His attentiveness seems natural for a father-in-law, at first. At a family dinner, Vivienne Mitchell watches her husband pour Anya another glass of wine. Something in her expression suggests this isn't the first time she's noticed his special attention to a younger woman. When she excuses herself early with a migraine, nobody seems surprised. Anya's parents arrive from Delhi 2 weeks before the wedding. Their pride is palpable as they tour the Mitchell estate and meet Sydney's elite at pre-wedding functions. Her father, Rajiv Sharma, takes Ryan aside at one event. "You're getting not just a wife, but the pride of our family," he says, his expression making clear the weight of responsibility this entails. The night before the wedding, Anya sits alone in her guest room at the Mitchell estate. She opens her suitcase and moves aside carefully folded silk scarves, revealing a small ornate box. Inside lies a ceremonial knife with jewels embedded in its handle, a family heirloom meant for protection. Her grandmother's words echo in her mind, "A woman must always have her own strength." She returns it to its hiding place, telling herself it's merely traditional. Wedding morning dawns bright over Sydney Harbour. Makeup artists and hairstylists transform Anya into a vision of bridal perfection. As she's dressed in layers of embroidered silk, she catches Victor watching from the doorway. Their eyes meet in the mirror, a moment of connection that seems to exclude everyone else in the room. The ceremony blends traditions, Hindu rituals followed by Western vows. When Ryan kisses his bride, guests from 2 continents cheer. Victor's speech brings tears to eyes as he welcomes Anya to the family, speaking of legacy and future generations. Only someone watching very closely would notice how his hand lingers on her shoulder during photographs, or how she slightly tenses at his touch. As the reception continues into evening, no one suspects that behind the perfect smiles and champagne toasts, secrets have been building that will explode into violence before morning. The knife in Anya's suite, brought as cultural tradition, will serve a far different purpose than anyone could imagine. Anya's first solo meeting with Victor happens by accident. 3 months before the wedding, she gets lost in the sprawling Mitchell estate while looking for the kitchen. She finds Victor instead, alone in his study surrounded by architectural models and family photos. "Ryan never mentioned how overwhelming Australia must be for you," Victor says, offering her tea instead of sending her away. While Ryan brushes off her homesickness as something she'll get over, Victor listens. He understands cultural displacement in ways his son doesn't, having traveled extensively through India in his younger years. My son means well, but he lives in a bubble of privilege, Victor explains. He's never had to adapt to someone else's world. This simple acknowledgement of her struggle forms an unexpected bond between them. During their tea, Victor notices Anya flinch when he moves suddenly to reach for a book. The reaction is subtle but telling. Someone taught you to be wary, he observes. She deflects the comment, but something in her eyes suggests deep-rooted caution around men. As wedding preparations intensify, Ryan's startup faces a crisis requiring frequent interstate trips. Victor steps in as Anya's guide to Australian society. Their outings begin innocently, selecting venues, meeting caterers, choosing wines. Victor introduces her as my future daughter with obvious pride. You're the first of Ryan's girlfriends who understands what legacy means, Victor tells her during a drive along Sydney's coastline. The others just wanted his money or status. The comparison flatters her, creating a sense that she alone truly understands the Mitchell family values. The shift happens gradually, Victor's hand lingering on her back while helping her from the car. Compliments that drift from appropriate to intimate. That color brings out something fierce in your eyes, he says during a dress fitting, his gaze holding hers a moment too long in the mirror. Anya finds herself drawn to his worldliness and attention. Where Ryan speaks about technological innovations, Victor discusses philosophy and art. When she mentions feeling isolated, he creates opportunities for her to showcase her talents at charity events, introducing her to Sydney's elite as someone exceptional rather than just Ryan's fiancée. Their age difference creates a strange power dynamic. At 57, Victor possesses the confidence and authority Anya finds lacking in men her age. At 22, she represents everything Victor feels slipping away: youth, possibility, adoration. Their conversations increasingly include subtle references to this gap, making it part of the forbidden attraction. In another life, Victor whispers during a moment alone at a gallery opening, leaving the thought unfinished but understood. Anya should feel repulsed, but instead finds herself wondering about this other life where age wouldn't matter. Behind Victor's distinguished exterior lurks classic midlife crisis. His business achievements no longer satisfy him. His marriage to Vivienne has become a cordial partnership rather than a passion. Anya represents not just youth but redemption, a second chance at feeling vital. For Anya, Australia creates constant anxiety. Wedding expectations, cultural adjustments, and future responsibilities loom large. Victor becomes her anchor in this storm, providing guidance that slowly transforms into dependency. Their relationship blurs boundaries between paternal and romantic. When Victor helps her navigate immigration paperwork, his role feels appropriately fatherly. When he brushes hair from her face during a private dinner to discuss wedding details, the electricity between them is anything but familial. Flashbacks to Anya's childhood intrude during quiet moments. Her father's controlling behavior toward her mother. The expectation of female submission she witnessed growing up. A teenage incident with an older family friend that was quickly hushed up. These memories fuel both her attraction to Victor's strength and a simmering anger she rarely acknowledges. The first near discovery comes during a family dinner. Victor compliments Anya's traditional cooking, comparing it favorably to Vivienne's efforts. The comment seems innocent, but Vivienne's expression suggests she senses something beneath the words. You seem to spend more time planning this wedding than the bride and groom, Vivienne remarks to Victor later, her tone light but eyes watchful. Victor dismisses her comment with practiced ease, but Anya notices how he keeps physical distance between them for the rest of the evening. Their first kiss happens in Victor's car after a late-night venue inspection. The touch begins as comfort after Anya receives disappointing news from home, but quickly ignites into something more urgent. Both pull away shocked at their actions, making promises it won't happen again. Both know they're lying. As the wedding approaches, their meetings become more elaborate and risky. Secret phones with messages they delete immediately after reading. Hotel rooms booked under business pretexts. Alibis carefully constructed and cross-checked. Anya's guilt surfaces in strange moments, while trying on her wedding dress, during calls with Ryan, in dreams where her grandmother's disapproving face appears. She begins having episodes of unexplained anger, snapping at wedding planners over minor issues, then apologizing profusely. Ryan notices changes in Anya but attributes them to pre-wedding stress. Dad says all brides get like this, he tells his friends, unknowingly highlighting the very relationship that's causing her distress. The closest call comes when Vivienne finds Anya's earring in Victor's car. Must have fallen out when your father drove me to the caterer, Anya explains smoothly to Ryan at dinner. Across the table, Victor's expression doesn't change, but under the tablecloth, his hand forms a fist so tight his knuckles turn white. As the wedding week arrives, Victor's possessiveness intensifies. He questions Anya about her conversations with Ryan, suggests she's too good for his son, implies they have a connection no one else could understand. What began as flattering attention increasingly feels like control. During her final dress fitting, Anya glimpses something disturbing in her own reflection. A familiar trapped look she recognizes from photos of her mother. That night, she retrieves the ceremonial knife from its hiding place, running her finger along its edge. Not sharp enough to cut, but heavy enough to cause damage if necessary. The night before her wedding, Anya stands on the balcony of the Mitchell estate overlooking Sydney Harbour. Victor joins her, placing his hand over hers on the railing. After tomorrow, everything changes, he says. His words could mean many things, but the possessive squeeze of his hand makes his true meaning clear. For the first time, Anya feels not desire but fear in his presence. Wedding day arrives with perfect Sydney weather. Anya transforms through hours of preparation, henna-decorated hands, gold jewelry weighing heavy on her neck and wrists, red lehenga embroidered with thousands of crystals. She looks older than her 22 years, poised and regal as she moves through the traditional ceremony. Ryan watches his bride with obvious pride. In his custom-tailored suit, he plays the role of successful young businessman perfectly, accepting congratulations from Sydney's elite who've gathered to witness the union of two prominent families. Victor delivers a speech that brings tears to guests' eyes. He speaks of legacy, tradition, and future generations. Today we don't just gain a daughter-in-law, he says, voice thick with emotion. We gain the future of our family. His eyes lock with Anya's across the room in a moment that seems intimate despite hundreds of witnesses. During the gift exchange, Anya's uncle presents a ceremonial kirpan, a traditional Sikh knife with jeweled handle and curved blade. For protection and honor in your new home, he explains. The knife is displayed prominently among wedding gifts, its blade catching light as evening falls. The reception continues until midnight. When the newlyweds finally retire to their luxury suite overlooking the harbor, they're exhausted but happy. While Anya showers, Ryan notices her phone light up with a message. Normally he wouldn't look, but something about the late hour makes him curious. The message preview shows only, "Last night was." Ryan opens it to find a complete conversation between his wife and father spanning months. Explicit messages. Meeting details. Promises about their future. His hands shake as he scrolls through hundreds of exchanges, each more devastating than the last. When Anya emerges from the bathroom in her bridal nightgown, she finds Ryan sitting in the dark, her phone glowing in his hand. "How long?" he asks, his voice unrecognizable. Anya freezes, immediately understanding what is discovered. "Ryan, I can explain." "Explain what?" "That you've been sleeping with my father? He's older than your own dad." Their argument escalates quickly, Ryan's voice rising as he reads messages aloud. "I can't wait to feel you again. After the wedding, we'll figure out our future." His face contorts with disgust. He's 57. "You're barely an adult." A knock interrupts them. Victor enters without waiting for permission, still dressed in his formal suit minus the tie. "I heard shouting. What's happening?" Ryan holds up the phone. "Care to explain this, Dad?" Victor's confident expression falters momentarily before he regains composure. "Son, this isn't what you think. Don't lie to me." Ryan hurls the phone against the wall. "I read everything. Every disgusting word between you two." Victor changes tactics, his voice becoming soothing. "These things happen. She was lonely. I was helping her adjust. You were helping yourself, Ryan spits. To my wife. Both men now turn to Anya, their anger finding a common target. Victor's paternal mask drops completely. You should have been more careful with your messages, Victor hisses at her. I told you to delete everything. Anya backs away as Ryan advances toward her. So you admit it? You've both been laughing behind my back. Nobody was laughing, Victor says, suddenly businesslike. This is unfortunate but manageable. We'll handle it privately. Ryan's laugh is hollow. Handle it? How exactly? She'll go back to India, obviously, Victor states flatly. We'll have the marriage annulled, cite cultural differences. I'm not going anywhere, Anya says, finding her voice. Both men look at her as if surprised she would speak. Their expressions are eerily similar despite the age difference. Entitled, controlling, dismissive. You have no choice, Ryan says. I'll report you to immigration tomorrow. Marriage fraud. Victor nods. Your visa depends on this marriage. Without it, you're gone within weeks. What about the money my family invested in your business? Anya asks Ryan. Victor answers instead. Consider it payment for services rendered. His smile is cruel. No court will side with you once we explain how you seduced a father and son. The two men stand side by side now, united in their anger, blocking her path to the door. Your reputation will be destroyed, Ryan threatens. We'll make sure everyone in Delhi knows what you did. Your parents will be humiliated, Victor adds. Is that what you want? Anya feels the wall against her back. Trapped between these men who minutes ago were husband and father-in-law, now transformed into threatening strangers. This was never about me, she realizes aloud. This was about ownership, which Mitchell gets to possess the young bride. Don't be dramatic, Victor dismisses. Ryan, call the concierge. Have them prepare another room for your father. We'll discuss next steps in the morning when everyone's calmer. As Ryan reaches for the phone, something breaks inside Anya. Years of witnessing her mother's submission. The weight of family expectations. Months of manipulation by Victor. The humiliation in Ryan's eyes. It crystallizes into a single moment of clarity. The ceremonial knife sits on the dresser where she placed it earlier. Before either man realizes her intent, she lunges for it. Put that down, Ryan orders, advancing toward her. You're being hysterical, Victor says, his tone condescending. When Ryan grabs her wrist, Anya reacts instinctively. The knife plunges into his abdomen with shocking ease. His expression turns from anger to disbelief as he stumbles backward, blood blooming across his white shirt. Victor shouts in horror, moving toward his fallen son. Anya, now operating on pure adrenaline, turns on him. The second attack is more deliberate. Multiple stabs to chest and neck as Victor tries to shield himself with raised arms. The entire confrontation takes less than 2 minutes. Ryan lies motionless by the bed, Victor crumpled near the door he never managed to open. Anya stands between them, wedding lehenga splattered with blood, ceremonial knife still clutched in her hand. She doesn't call for help. Instead, she sits on the edge of the bed, staring at what she's done as if watching a scene in a movie. The bride has transformed into something else entirely. The knife that was meant to symbolize protection has fulfilled its purpose in a way no one could have predicted. When hotel security finally responds to reports of shouting, they find Anya still sitting there, 2 bodies cooling on the luxury suite's floor, Sydney Harbour glittering indifferently through floor-to-ceiling windows behind her. Detective Isla Cooper enters the bridal suite at 3:42 a.m., following the night manager's panicked call. The scene is surreal. Luxury surroundings transformed into a bloody crime scene. 2 male bodies lie on expensive carpet. Ryan Mitchell near the bed, Victor Mitchell by the door. Both have multiple stab wounds. Anya sits on the edge of the king-sized bed, wedding lehenga soaked with blood, ceremonial knife resting in her lap. She doesn't respond to questions or commands. Her blank stare suggests profound shock. Mrs. Mitchell. Detective Cooper approaches cautiously. I need you to put down the knife. Anya doesn't resist when officers take the weapon. She simply continues staring at the wall as police photographers document the scene and paramedics confirm what's already obvious. Both men are beyond saving. Down the hall, Vivienne Mitchell collapses when told she's lost both husband and son in a single night. Her screams echo through the hotel, waking guests who'd retired after the wedding celebration just hours earlier. Hotel staff struggle to maintain privacy as curious onlookers gather, sensing something terrible has happened. By sunrise, news crews surround the hotel. The story is irresistible. Beautiful young bride kills groom and father-in-law on wedding night. Headlines emerge within hours: wedding night massacre, killer bride's bloody rampage, death do us part, marriage ends in double murder. At police headquarters, Anya remains silent through initial questioning. Her only words come when offered clean clothes to replace her blood-soaked wedding attire. No. Let everyone see what happened here. Vivienne Mitchell requires sedation after attempting to enter the crime scene. Medical staff diagnose acute stress reaction transitioning toward probable PTSD. She's lost everything, her sister tells reporters. Her husband, her son, her future grandchildren, all in one night. When Rajiv and Priya Sharma receive the call in their hotel room, their celebration turns to nightmare. Within hours, they're navigating unfamiliar legal systems, hiring attorneys, and facing reporters' questions about their daughter's mental state. We don't understand, Rajiv tells the Indian embassy representative. This isn't our daughter. Something terrible must have happened in that room. The wedding guests, prominent members of both Australian and Indian society, find themselves witnesses in a murder investigation. Their statements paint contradictory pictures. Some notice tension between Victor and Ryan. Others describe Anya as unusually quiet during the reception. Many report nothing unusual at all. Family divisions emerge immediately. Victor's brother publicly demands maximum punishment. She planned this, he tells reporters. Brought that knife as a weapon, not a cultural item. Meanwhile, Anya's cousin speaks to Indian media. She was trapped between two controlling men. Whatever happened in that room, she must have been defending herself. Inside the women's correctional facility, Anya transitions from bride to prisoner. The blood-stained lehenga is replaced with standard-issue clothing. Wedding jewelry catalogued as evidence. Her marriage and its violent end are compressed into case numbers and exhibit labels. Court-appointed psychologist Dr. Mahjong conducts initial evaluation, noting, subject remains in dissociative state, emotionally detached from events. Present symptoms consistent with acute trauma response. Social media explodes with competing narratives. #Justice for Mitchells trends alongside #Believe Anya. The case triggers debates about cultural integration, relationship power dynamics, and women's autonomy. Video clips of the wedding ceremony circulate, analyzed for signs of impending violence. Victor's speech about gaining a daughter takes on sinister meaning when played beside crime scene photos leaked by police staff. Australian commentators question immigration policies and cultural differences. Can these marriages between vastly different cultures ever truly work? Asks one popular morning show host, ignoring decades of successful multicultural relationships. Indian media focuses on the ceremonial knife, debating whether its presence indicates premeditation or legitimate cultural practice. Religious leaders appear on television explaining the symbolic significance of the kirpan, insisting it's meant for protection, not violence. Women's advocacy groups point to power imbalances in the relationship, age differences, visa dependency, financial control. Men's rights activists counter with accusations of female manipulation and deadly rage. Within days, competing book deals and documentary proposals emerge. The Mitchell-Sharma wedding becomes symbolic of larger social tensions, appropriated by various groups to support existing narratives about gender, culture, and power. Anya's first public appearance comes at her arraignment. The media-dubbed killer bride appears thin, disoriented. Her parents sit in the front row, visibly aged by stress and shame. As forensic evidence emerges, new questions arise. Why were both victims in the bridal suite past midnight? Why were Victor's fingerprints on Anya's phone? What triggered the confrontation? Detective Cooper notes discrepancies in the timeline. Something happened in that room beyond what we're seeing, she tells her partner. The physical evidence doesn't match a simple rage killing. At Vivienne Mitchell's insistence, funeral services for father and son are held jointly. She collapses again during the ceremony, requiring medical attention. Friends report she's begun referring to Anya as that monster, refusing to acknowledge her by name. Dr. Zhong's preliminary psychological report identifies concerning patterns. Subject displays signs of prolonged psychological manipulation consistent with coercive control. Her dissociative response suggests this wasn't her first experience with trauma. As Act 4 closes, the case has transformed from personal tragedy to public spectacle. Evidence continues to emerge, pointing toward complex dynamics few suspected behind the picture-perfect wedding. Anya remains largely silent, her story untold while others construct narratives around her actions. The ceremonial knife, now sealed in an evidence bag, waits to reveal whether it was a symbol of cultural tradition or a weapon of premeditated murder, or perhaps both simultaneously. Detective Isla Cooper stands in the crime scene analysis room 6 days after the murders. Crime scene photos cover the walls, blood spatter patterns, victim positions, the ceremonial knife. Forensic analysts have mapped 2 distinct attack patterns. The first attack on Ryan Mitchell shows hesitation marks and defensive wounds, explains forensic specialist Dr. Liam Chen. The killer wasn't committed initially, but the attack on Victor Mitchell is different. Deeper wounds, more precise targeting of vital areas, minimal defensive injuries. It suggests a psychological shift between killings. Digital forensics reveals months of messages between Victor and Anya. The communication pattern shows classic manipulation, isolation tactics, emotional dependency, alternating affection and criticism. But they also find troubling messages from Ryan in the weeks before the wedding. Look at this thread. Cooper shows her partner. Ryan telling Anya her visa depends on his family's approval. Victor suggesting her parents' business investments could disappear if she disappoints them. They were both using immigration status and financial leverage as control mechanisms. Hotel security footage reveals Victor entering the bridal suite at 1:17 a.m., nearly an hour before police were called. Ryan had already dismissed the wedding coordinator and other staff, ensuring privacy. The timeline contradicts initial statements that Victor arrived after hearing an argument. The blood evidence doesn't match a simple rage attack, Cooper explains to her superior. Victor's blood on Ryan's hands suggests he tried to help his father after being stabbed himself. And there's defensive bruising on Anya's arms predating the stabbings. Recovered audio from Anya's shattered phone captures fragments of the confrontation. Male voices using phrases like ungrateful bitch and teach you a lesson are identified by audio experts as belonging to both Mitchell men. The recording ends with sounds of physical struggle before the fatal confrontation. Dr. Zhong's comprehensive psychological evaluation concludes, subject exhibits symptoms consistent with acute stress response following prolonged psychological manipulation. The dissociative state during the incident suggests trauma-triggered defense mechanism rather than premeditated violence. Defense attorney Catherine Zhong builds her case methodically. This isn't about a calculated murder, she tells Anya's parents. It's about a young woman trapped between 2 controlling men who threatened her immigration status, financial security, and family honor. When physically cornered, she responded with survival instinct, not premeditation. Prosecutor Michael Sullivan paints a different picture. The evidence shows clear intent, he argues in preliminary hearings. She brought a weapon to her wedding, maintained a months-long affair with her father-in-law, then eliminated both men when discovered. This was calculated murder motivated by shame and exposure. Media coverage simplifies the narrative based on cultural stereotypes. Australian tabloids portray Anya as a calculating bride, who ensnared 2 generations of Mitchell men. Indian outlets frame her as a victim of cultural collision, or trapped woman fighting for survival. Cultural experts appear on television panels, offering contradictory interpretations. Dr. Anjali Patel, specialist in cross-cultural psychology, argues, this case exemplifies the vulnerable position of immigrant brides, isolated, dependent on sponsors, and caught between cultural expectations. Professor William Harris counters, the ceremonial knife's presence suggests premeditation disguised as cultural tradition. This was revenge killing, not self-defense. The trial begins 9 months after the wedding night. International media descends on Sydney. The courthouse becomes a battleground of competing narratives. Feminist groups supporting Anya face off against supporters of the Mitchell family. Vivienne Mitchell testifies first, still heavily medicated. "She took everything from me," she says, voice breaking. Under cross-examination, she reluctantly acknowledges awareness of her husband's previous inappropriate relationships with younger women, including her son's former girlfriend. Forensic experts testify about blood patterns and digital evidence. Hotel staff describe the events leading to the discovery. Former employees of Victor Mitchell reveal a pattern of relationships with young women dependent on his business connections. Anya finally speaks in her own defense, her testimony broadcast globally. She describes the gradual manipulation by Victor, Ryan's knowledge of the affair before the wedding, and their joint threats when discovered. "They told me no one would believe me," she testifies. "That I'd be deported in disgrace, my family ruined. When Ryan grabbed me, I saw my mother's face. The same trapped look she had when my father controlled her. I couldn't become that woman." Expert witnesses debate psychological states and cultural factors. Dr. Jong testifies, "The attack shows classic trauma response, initial self-defense followed by dissociative state where past trauma merges with present threat." After 3 weeks of testimony, the jury deliberates for 4 days. They return with a complex verdict, guilty of second-degree murder for Victor's death, but manslaughter with diminished capacity for Ryan's death, acknowledging different mental states during each attack. Judge Eleanor Winters sentences Anya to 12 years with possibility of parole after 8, citing extraordinary circumstances of psychological manipulation and cultural isolation. She addresses Anya directly, "This court recognizes your victimization while acknowledging you took 2 lives. Your sentence reflects both." The case transforms discourse around cross-cultural marriages. Immigration authorities implement support systems for foreign spouses. Domestic violence organizations develop culturally specific resources. Universities add case studies on power dynamics in cross-cultural relationships. 6 years into her sentence, Anya completes a memoir titled The Wedding Knife. Publishers initially reject it as too controversial, but an online version goes viral, translated into 12 languages. Her account of gradual manipulation and cultural isolation resonates with women globally. Legal scholars cite the case when arguing for expanded definitions of coercive control in domestic violence law. Several Australian states introduce Anya's amendment, recognizing immigration status threats as a form of domestic abuse. In her final prison interview, Anya reflects, "I never wanted to become a symbol. I wanted a marriage, a family, a future. But if my story prevents other women from being trapped between worlds and men who see them as property, perhaps something meaningful came from this tragedy." The ceremonial knife, once evidence in a murder trial, is eventually displayed in the Australian Museum of Justice, a cultural artifact transformed into a symbol of the complex intersection between tradition, power, and a woman's desperate fight for autonomy.